we've now entered phase 2 of the game, and you know, it makes things like this Mikimi less valuable. It's only 15 bucks, but I don't need it, you know. I don't have a use for it. And I actually can't even assign that to somebody else's company. I thought maybe I could, but I looked this up last game. You can only use it on your own companies. It was another game that had that. Maybe it was 1880. That kind of feel to it. And others have they're going bad now, right? They're no longer producing any money. Now this one I can trigger if I want or not. I don't know if there's much advantage to triggering it at this point, but the problem is phase 2 doesn't necessarily last very long. Basically, I've got a lot of shipping here, but I could expand that shipping somewhat at some point. I just have to do it before the first 6 tray boat comes out. And this one I will probably trigger right away because it's worth nothing and I can get a blue share. I had the worry, oh geez, you know, what if there are no shares there? Because there were none there. Well, it's pretty damn likely somebody's going to release shares, especially from the older companies that are the most valuable. So I don't think there's much worry that that would not happen. And that pretty much covers all of the choices that have to be made at this point because nobody else has any left. And finally hitting something vaguely like a decent run, 17 at this point. Do I need another ship? I have almost nothing to release. If I don't get my permanent ship at this point, I'm gonna have problems. There's only 1-4 left. I'm gonna actually stand on that 17 and buy myself a permanent ship. And just try to go buy as low as I can. But here's the problem, you know. Early on, the guy who owns it, and this is an XX issue, in terms of trying to build something for later, like the pen in 1830. Early on, I had a reasonable amount of shares, but I started at a high price. Setting it for that won't have problems later, and that means I don't have a whole lot of shares. I'm not far behind other people, but I'm at least a share behind everyone. And over here, with the same price as me, I'm a couple shares behind him, actually. And, you know, that's significant. Now, granted, in terms of share value, there's some advantage there. So I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm about a share behind him and actually probably close to everyone else, just because I have so much wealth built up. But yeah, if I could buy another boat, then maybe I could use this. I'm not sure. 1, 2, 3. I mean, not with a 4. And honestly, even with a 5, I can't, because I can't split them. So I've got to either start here or start here, and neither one really works terribly well. That last 4 is sort of a poison pill at this point. So red doesn't want it. Blue is in the same position. It means a swallow if I pick that thing up. That 300 bucks is 300 bucks I have to make up at some other point. Or it means I can't use these tokens. I'm not sure. I'm in a pretty bad position though, because I don't have a place to put my new home that's particularly useful. I may put it in Byzantium just to screw Orange over, because I don't think I can use Byzantium. And boy, would that be dicky. But honestly, I'm looking in from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even if I get a 5, that doesn't get me there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Because I'm pretty damn pissed off at having been cut off from there. And Orange could have assured themselves that they get into Byzantium. Of course, this is what they really want. They wanted their home here and the line of spaces coming out of there so they can run. But Byzantium just got shut down. Too bad. who also chose to buy the boat. This is biting a bullet, but oh, do I need a swallow for this? That's the question. I do not need to swallow much. This would be the turn to swallow if I'm going to, because I was only going to make 10, 15 this turn. I'm going to make more every other turn. And I do need a swallow for a permanent boat. So yeah, let me take my 200 bucks of that 300 that I spent. And that gets me, again, to a low-end permanent. Basically, I can get a 5. I can't get anything better than a 5 off just one swallow. Until the 6s come out, and then I could dump one of these. But yeah, that's where the situation kind of became hard, is there's this balance between how many tokens you have on the board and how much cash you have to service them to buy boats so that you can reach those tokens. And obviously you can swallow and stuff, but if you don't do that, you're faced with really hard choices where, like, I'm going to need to sell at least 2 of these for that 300 bucks and this, that, and the other. I think I can afford to get rid of one of these, but if I have any size ship at all, which I may, if I don't have any size ship, then I could get rid of more, but then I don't really need it. Like, if I just end up with a 5, I don't really need the tokens that I have, even in the long run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just not going to get anywhere interesting. At the end of the operating room, most of the 5s are gone. There's just 1 left. The pickups here are gray. Black did not get one. He's low on cash. He's going to need to do a swallow at some point, but I figure that happens after the 6th train. And then I can release some shares, or I can do a swallow for 300 bucks. It doesn't really make much difference. You can see purple's kind of mirroring what black has. They can't quite do it because of this, but what else? Gray kind of mirroring what red has, hoping to get over here and start a new home in these richer waters. They picked up one of the 5s. Orange did not pick up a 5. Again, they've got not enough money to buy anything else. That's kind of the problem. Anything bigger than a 5 they have to swallow for, but their shipping is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minimum. I mean, they could buy the 5 and run some pretty decent routes for a little while, and then be cut down for the rest of the game, where they're maybe not going here, but getting that sort of centralized rich area. I'm never sure. You can calculate out, is it worth the extra swallow for extra stuff in most cases. Here it's a little harder because I have to do it in advance. Like, it's obvious it's going to happen, unlike in most XX games. And the other thing is, those 5 boats aren't like they are in most XX games. In most XXs, hey, what I'd love is to have a couple of little permanent trains, 5, a couple of 5s, you get a 5 and a 6, whatever. In this, they're kind of expensive for what they give you, Yes, it's $100 of space for the most part, but the E's are just better. And when you look at your cash, you're like, well, I have enough cash for a 6 or a 7. If I buy a 5, and enough potential cash because I have some merchants to sell, if I buy a 5, what does that mean? That I'm kind of wasting. I have this extra money. Now, of course, you can pillage that extra money, but I'm kind of baking in the pillaging anyway because it just seems like a good idea. All right, time to worry about certificate limits in this stock round. We're at 13. I don't think anybody's anywhere near there. We've got an 8 over here, and not enough money to be buying 5 shares. There's also still an open company. And this is not pleasant, but Red decided the only way he's going to make Mikini make any value to himself is if he starts another company. And he starts it fairly low at 110. It's not got any prospects, though. I can run down here, but I'm going to have to put my home base here and then circle back and around for Mikini to be of any worth whatsoever. However, I sold 1 share of Red, which isn't terribly valuable anyway in terms of how much it produces, and picked these 3 up. I would have been better off picking up something else that was 110 a share, though. Red is not attractive, but this new company doesn't look it either. A little bit of a further investment over here. This guy's just buying up all the oranges. I don't know why it's not that appealing, but you know, it's his company, whatever. See, at 9, 10, he's only got room for 3 more shares. He may have to be faced with the decision of selling off his own crap in order to optimize his portfolio or something, which isn't very appealing either. But yeah, he certainly has the most certificates. They're all low valued. And we're entering into that final period of the game, the last 3 operating rounds. And get to see what, if anything, comes of it all. I don't think anybody made any earth-shattering moves here. One of the reasons that green was bought was it'll pick up this 5 train, open it up so the 6 train is available, or boat is available to Red right away, which allows them to sort of smoothly move into the next phase without any hit, without taking, without even getting a swallow or whatever. So there was something kind of appealing about that, but I don't know how much good it does. It does definitely put red on warning, or orange on warning. So orange may buy that 5, which means green's in trouble. We'll see how it works out, but yeah, that looks pretty likely because orange doesn't want the 5. That's the problem. Thinking that my little mechanism may not be safe here with green, and I don't really remember why, but I remember it. I don't know who was going to trigger it. I am going to buy this 5, even though that wasn't the initial plan. Now, that's okay, because here's what happens. No, that's not what happens. I was going to say, well, here's what might happen. If this ends up not being able to afford the train, the $600 train, well, conceivably I could buy a train from here, or a ship from here. But if I don't want to do that, I can just refuse to sell it. I don't have to sell it. No game forces you to do that I know of. And instead have not enough money. And then I'm allowed to release these. Now, as a forced sale, it will drop the share value and I'll make less per share that I release, but I'm not planning on using all of these. And this will be a way for me to get more ships than I would otherwise get. And then I can do some juggling if need be. But that looks like my safest response. And in fact, I will probably have excess money after I buy that, unless somehow the forced sale just exactly covers what I need, which it doesn't look like it will, so that I can actually shuffle, start the shuffling process a little earlier. Right then, bought a ship over from black. I only got 3 merchants in black now, so that I have enough cash to buy a 6, and this is where the danger was. I thought it might have been blue, but blue would have to swallow, and they're kind of the opinion of, well, we'd rather lose one of our ships before we have to do that. Black buying the first 6, the point is kind of moot because that extra ship is gone, which means I'm going to have to release shares no matter what to pay it off, and I'm not going to have capability to juggle. Now this enters us into a new stage though, so I don't have to release shares to pay it off. This is the tricky part. Since it's a new stage, I can release shares for free, up to 6 of them, or merchants, or whatever you want to call them. I mean, you know, the idea of releasing merchants generating more capital is so similar to the stock mechanisms in an XX game, and in terms of, you know, the topical aspects, it really doesn't seem to align as well as the idea of shares do, although there's some definite differences with how the mechanisms are handled. Those differences don't seem to really all that well align with the idea of kingdoms and merchants. Then again, XX kind of doesn't align all that well with the actual economics of stock offerings, etc., as given by the fact that, like, they fly all over the place trying to triangulate on the right place for it. But, you know, it's an abstraction no matter what. So that means, starting up with red, we have the opportunity to release those extra certificates, and we have to figure out what are we going to end up with as shipping, etc. And, you know, how much is that money worth? Does it do me anything? Because at the very least, I can pull out 15 or 20 bucks a round from it, but only if I'm not going to be getting another ship. And right now, a 5 ship only gets me these, which is what I can run. So maybe I want to release both because I'm not going to get much more ship. Maybe I want to release one and try running a 6 ship somehow. It's hard to tell what I'm going to have in terms of value without doing the calculations. An absolutely humongous quantity of merchants have been released. Mainly the balance doesn't appear to be as difficult to assess at this point, simply because, hey, if I want something new, maybe it's my unwillingness to swallow at this point, because there aren't many rounds left, so a swallow isn't very good. So it's like, you know, over there, if I can get an E in, well, getting 1 extra dot, that's worth it, you know. And then I could also conceivably add Mike and E, yeah, he's the guy with it, to that run. And I don't know what this is worth, almost nothing. Remember that the exploration ships get to move 3 each now, so actually additional exploration is more valuable, but this guy just has nowhere he can go, basically. So he's going to be pretty worthless. But some of the others, you know, I mean, he's got a ton of cash on there, so some ship juggling or whatever might allow me to get an E. Maybe not. Other people also. It's his plan to get the first E. Otherwise, his 4 goes away. But there's a lot of cash on both these companies, so we'll see, because things are going to start dropping real quick. Last 6 is going to go to orange. That's almost guaranteed. He's going to have some extra cash. He actually sold an extra merchant out there so that he can pillage more during the next 2 rounds. He didn't have quite enough cash to pillage fully for 2 rounds. So, you know, we finish up the operating round. Let's see, orange picked up that 6. I've removed the boat because they've got all their merchants down. There's no need to move that thing around anymore. Gray, not quite enough money because the 7 was available. Didn't want to swallow. I've got enough cash between these that I can do some interesting stuff. We'll see how things kind of fall out. We may have a problem though where I'm not running either one, and maybe I would have been better off swallowing and buying a heavier ship early. It's often hard to make those decisions. And then, let's see, that's orange, gray, green. Green had enough cash on hand to outright buy a 7. And they've got a pile of cash between them and red where an E is available. Red's positioned to move in to get the E. But who's going to buy it? When's it going to happen? It can't happen right now. I don't know. What would a 12 do me? Because I could buy the 5 over and have enough cash to get a 7. Yeah, but then things are set up wrong and I have to juggle again. It's too late to play around with that. We're going to see what happens. Worst comes to worst, we can do a swallow and buy the E that way and leave that extra cash up there, but I'd rather not do that. But we're positioned so we can grab the E there, and if we do that, we can actually run Mike and E up through here, well, these things become valueless once the E's are out. And so far I haven't used this damn thing. Um, just because he's got enough shipping to get everywhere he really needs to go. And let's see, we did not use it in phase 2 at all. So it's this is the problem. The guy, in my prior game, I got to use it. And as long as you can keep your stock value high enough, I think it's useful. But in the middling range, it was too likely that, you know, a complete phase goes by without you getting a valuable chance to use it. I could have triggered it and, you know, hit, I don't know, maybe one of these or something extra, gotten a couple extra bucks off of it, or maybe spent cash after hitting it to get, you know, some of those other temples. But now I've got maybe one more shot before the first E goes. Probably not. It looks like there's enough room that the E's going to happen. Blue's the second company. Here's the thing. If red swallows, they can buy the E. On the other hand, if they juggle, they can buy the E as well. And those, it's not like either one is worth all that much to me, but it's also not like, it's a hard decision. And it's kind of like, this guy is not in a lead position. He's probably doing very, very poorly because he tried to play for the long game, and that just does not work in any XX game that I know of. Maybe it works in the ones I'm not terribly fond of. You always have to have an eye to the long game, but you can't just look to be building, you know, your track and such not, and say, well, I'll make money later in the game. You can set it up so that your stock values are in the tank and such not, but you want to make sure that you're getting cash, and there aren't a lot of mechanisms in this design to get a lot of early cash. Basically, it's running your company, or holding on to one of these things or something. But yeah, you want to be able to churn your money pretty quickly. He hasn't been able to do that, and didn't buy enough shares. He's got some good stock value though in the reds, but it's not like he doesn't have better. So, just because more certificates, I think. Anyway, stock, whatever. 2 more rounds. Difficult parts of an XX game. This guy's set up to buy this ship over here for all the money, or almost all the money, and then have almost enough for an E-train. Although actually we're not at the E-trains yet. But the problem is that's going to be a swallow. And what you have to do is you have to figure out, is this worth it, is it not? So that swallow's worth 20 bucks on its own. Maybe. Let's see. Yeah. So there's two rounds. So that's worth 20 bucks on its own, plus the value of the 5 that's running, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is 12, 22, 27 bucks. So we're at 47 bucks for that swallow. Per share. Doesn't really matter, but now it doesn't really help green significantly. So luckily we don't have to work that into the factor. But then we get an E, and what is the E going to add to it? Well, we got 1 extra dot, plus we get Mike and E. That extra dot would go here, so we're adding 18 to the run. We only get that run once. The swallow is not worth it. So all my plans were bad. Why did I have to figure this out now? Because I have to know, am I stealing 20 bucks from each of my companies? So it's 15 bucks. Because I'm still in stage 3, not in stage 4 yet. The E's haven't come out. Actually, it was 10 bucks per. Oh no, it's 15. And there's a 7 out. I thought there were no 7s out. It's very hard coming back to a game after a little while out of circulation. Usually I try to get an XX done without any big breaks, but Friday night I go dancing. That would have been okay. And Saturday there was an event that I wanted to go to, so it kind of ate up my day. And now I'm not as well connected. It's a little less of a run. Would have liked a bigger train in the end, but they bought a 7. just because the timing, they're only going to get to run whatever they buy at this point once. But what they also did was they bought the 4 off gray. That allows gray to buy that 4 back, and if they need it. But the main thing it allows is for gray to have enough money to cash in. I don't think they have enough money to cash in at 4, but it gives them enough money to cash in their 5 from E, which doesn't help a hell of a lot. But gray's already expanded beyond, like this turn gray's going to be able to hit more than 4 or 5 spaces. Means it is costing them something, but not a full swallow. It's costing them like a few bucks a round. They're going to make that up when they hit this. And this is, it's right at the end when everything's kind of capable of being calculated much more, where some of these final train decisions are being made. I mean, this is because of the truncated ending of this game, not having to wait for a bank to break or something. And it does make it more painful to do the thinking at this point. I didn't feel like I was faced this with the other times I've played. Even though the purchases were at the same time, I felt like they were either obvious or not, you know. So here, I have 850 bucks. Another 150 from this gets me my 1,000. So I'm going to be able to have an E and another permanent train in play if I buy the E right now. Which means black can buy the 5 off this. So this is a good deal. The unfortunate thing is black's got a lot of money on them. But this is a pretty easy decision. Otherwise I had to calculate out, okay, what kind of juggling should I do? Should I be buying the first E off black instead of off yellow? Because yellow honestly doesn't need one. And I do have to still think about that. The problem is purple looks like they're going to get one. Well, then I'm going to end up with the E in the wrong place. What does this mean? I think I have to buy the E anyway. The bad part of this is that black doesn't get in here because they're not going to have an E, but I can keep expanding with black and increase their value. And I have more yellow shares than black, so I guess it's okay. I actually bought that E, and here's the problem. I have to do all that thinking, so I grabbed the train. Oops, that wasn't right. Before I actually grabbed that E, I was turning in a 4. So here's the hard call. My boat was over here, and I figured out my run is like a 13, but that's just with the 5. If I have that extra 4, I have other places I can hit, but next time I definitely want to hit here. I don't have a lot of tokens. These guys are worth 5 each, but these guys are worth 4 each for 2 runs. So I'll grab these 2. They're the best I could do, basically. And now for my next trick, I can take this with no problem. I do have to add that extra $8 a share, though, that I didn't count in. Black, I cheated the Poseidon use. It should have been decided earlier. And I looked and said, oh no, I'm fine. Well, I actually wasn't fine. I didn't hit enough shipping things, and I would have lost my phase 3 trigger on use of it. I'm not going to need a phase 4 use. Essentially, I got 1 use, doubling the value. If I cheat, if I, you know, retroactively decided, yeah, I wanted to use it. Normally in a game, if somebody gave an argument along those lines, I'd let them go back and make their decision anew. If they made an argument of, you know, that seemed to be dependent upon my activity or someone else's activity that triggered the change. So in this case, it would be kind of fuzzy because, hey, was that 7 going? But I think it was pretty damn obvious. And the fact that I was away for some time, etc., seemed like a good reason to give them a shot. And I mean, if we're looking at the game and who wins at the end and everything. To some extent, you kind of have to look at, yeah, well, why did they win? You know, what gave them the advantage in the end? All right. So they managed to make like 30 a share by doubling their 6, because it allowed them to get to their one remaining token, which they'd planned to put down here. And Purple's got the big E. They hit here, and I think I can move my exploration ship out. I sure hope. And grab some more territory. Next turn I'll get a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll get 3 more dots. I've got plenty of dots. I just don't have particularly valuable places to put them, but, you know, getting some coverage and getting a good final run makes sense. Green here with a big 7 is only making 10 a share. Now, I might be able to improve things by allocating Myconii to them and creating a home base somewhere if I can. Right now I can't reach any further than I can with that 7. That goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can't go to the off-board locations. I can't do anything. I've got a lot of dots though. I've got my home base left. I don't have time. That's the only problem. But this looks pretty piss poor, what I'm hitting right now. So I might be able to improve on it. I don't know. I only have 4 moved next time. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I put my base down in Naxos, I could add 9, 15, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can go up to 18 a share. So that's significantly better. Still not something that makes a lot of sense. The reason I bought the company was it was supposed to be able to combine this money and get me a better train or boat situation than I have. Unfortunately, this game's just not long enough for that to happen. My XX instincts fail me when you get a truncated game like this. That last round of runs was completed. Everybody paid out, obviously. There was a little attempt at blocking, but it really doesn't do too much. Most of the prices ranged, I think 27, 26 was about the lowest, 36 was the highest. Blue got that. Actually, Blue with their 7, none of the E's got that high. Interesting. Well, the E's ended up on kind of truncated companies. So this 12, 20, 27, 33, not bad at all. The other E was, Purple had a decent run, but I think Gray's was pretty weak because they had not a lot of tokens left. They had to throw a lot into the pool here in order to, you know, get enough money so that back when the 6 train fell, so that they could afford the E that they were going to get. Nothing too exciting, and honestly, the cash on hand looks approximately equal. You know, everybody's got 1,500 and change. He's got like 250. Oh, this guy's got a little over 100. So my guess is it's going to be stock value that determines things. Where's the stock value sitting? That's kind of hard to tell because some people have more shares than others. So this guy, you know, has 10 shares. Whereas over here, well, that's 9 shares, and 3 of them are top rank ones. Over here, 5, 9 shares. 5 of them are top rank at the 230. So, you know, we'll calculate it out and come out and see, but it looks like it actually came out as a very close game. And that's actually what I've seen under both these rules and the other misguided rules, is that the game feels closer than most XXs do, largely because there doesn't appear to be any real capability to destroy somebody's position. Yeah. It's hard to go bankrupt in this, so destroying your own position is tough to do. Maybe the worst you do is, hey, I have to swallow, so you're back one turn's payouts or something like that. So it's going to be a really, really tight game in general, I suspect. Let me do our calculations. Cash value, Blue and Gray, yeah, they had a little bit more money. Stock value, hey, we see they went out on stock value too, so obviously they're ahead. 25-22, about a 500-point difference. That's more than I thought I was going to see, to tell you the truth. Who got hurt here? Well, it was this orange guy who lost a company, I think, right? Yeah. I'm pretty sure he had another company, and I think it was yellow initially. No. No, who lost? Red. Red was the company that was lost, wasn't it? I don't remember what the hell was going on. But, because yellow and black don't have one of those things. Somebody lost a company, and I thought it was down here. Where else did we? So what was kind of exciting about blue and gray? They started off with this, which is kind of cool. They screwed orange out of this after getting screwed out of it themselves. That second company, gray, they ended up with nice big trains, or big ships on both their companies, basically. Trying to see if anybody, this is at least as rich in terms of that, but there wasn't as much development. Blue was really nicely developed. Black is kind of this dead end thing. That's where we want it to be able to get here, I thought. But anyway, I guess the biggest thing, other than the cash that was pulled in, blue had the biggest run of everything, was also and that is the Delphian League, or Delian League, sorry. The biggest thing was between that and having a good high stock value, and they, you know, for the thing they were invested in, they were able to run it without taking too many hits. It doesn't feel, from what I've seen of the game, and again, a couple of them don't really count, but it doesn't feel like there's the same kind of strong direction that I'm used to seeing in the XX games that I really like. It doesn't feel like you can pull away to the same degree. It almost seems like, I guess the big thing is that the post-permanent trains era is just too short. You know, in this case, it was one operating round. I'm not used to that, you know. I've seen games that stretch out too long without the permanent trains coming out. Hi 2038, hi 1870. I've seen games where I haven't seen many games that have this kind of truncated feel to it. And some of that is this shortened thing. Now, I don't remember if I finished my 1880 game at all. I know I didn't finish videoing one, and I don't think I played one out to completion. But that may have the same kind of problem, where it just ends up feeling a little too short. Now, it's kind of nice, because the draggy part of an XX game is often that, everything's decided now, right? But the problem is that just because that's a draggy part doesn't mean you should just cut it out of the game. And in a lot of ways, that's kind of the simplification that this game provides. So I don't know how good a gateway this is. Some people recommend it as a gateway to XX. You don't have the track line, but it means that that whole aspect of the system isn't being learned at all. I would say if you're going to go with kind of limited track line like this, and you want to deal with trains rusting and stock manipulation, B&O is a simpler and shorter game. So I would actually suggest that this is more in line for people who just want a shorter, somewhat different XX. But that's just my opinion on it. I don't have a hell of a lot of grasp of what happened. You know, it feels like how the trains fell was important, and I don't really think that there's, I don't know, I'm not sure that there's as much capability to control that as there are in some of the games. And some of that has to do with you're stuck with so many shares of a company and not really able to get rid of it. You've got no position where you can just kind of churn companies easily, make it look good, and then dump it on someone, and it may still be of value to that someone, but it allows you to kind of push the trains out faster than you would be able to otherwise. Well, here, it kind of feels like some of the more static games, like the 1835 style, where nobody's going to really burn something to the ground. There's no real opportunity to use something that's burned to the ground particularly well. You're probably going to lose out on later on valuable operating rounds. If you do that, you're going to end up with a damaged company that has to swallow, because you've got no way to dump it. You've got no way to get rid of it. Late starting companies, I mean, they really have a hard time, and that seems not to matter whether I misinterpret the rules or play it by the actual rules. If something like this gets started late, there's just not a lot it can do, because a lot of the territory is already taken. It's not like getting dotted out in an 18XX train game where it's like, well, that's just a useless company now. But it's close to it. It's close to it. It may have been a mistake to start that, especially since I didn't have the time to juggle the ships and get the right setup that I wanted that would have worked, because really, ideally, I wanted red to run the big route. Anyway, let's send this up, and I'll clean it up and be able to give a review on it, I guess.